Hello and welcome to The Connection Compass. This is your host, Andrea Louise Evans. To find out more about my work, you can visit andrealevans.com. This week, I want to talk a little bit more about the conversation I had with Mick last week. It was a great chat, and I'm all for deep conversations that take you on a journey. The Connection Compass is about creating a culture of care and connection. I wanted to do something to support our world to heal that at times does feel so fragmented. Even if that contribution is just as small as this podcast or supporting someone in coaching and yoga, to see something different, to gain a different perspective, and to live a life of enjoyment. I am here to help and I want to help. It's really important to remember that in any given moment, we are doing the best we can. It is so important that we hold ourselves with the deepest care and compassion. Human life is difficult, it's messy, and beautifully awkward. We all come to any situation with our own stories, our own heritage. Yet it's in those stories, no matter how painful or joyful, that we will find the connection we crave. Life at times can be so incredibly fragile and can be taken from any of us in the blink of an eye. My grandparents, great-grandparents were originally from Poland, and their land was taken through Russian occupation, and they became displaced. That part of Poland is now in Ukraine. I consider where we are in the world and I think, oh my word, we've not learned anything. And it wasn't that long ago either. My feelings are we need to do better. We need to create a better world. It upsets me that happened to my family, but I don't want to be dragged down by it either. I don't want to be sunk by it. They didn't go through that experience for me to be down about it. It actually makes me appreciate life more, and I want to make a difference in this world, even if it's a small one. As a young, newly qualified nurse, I cared for young men and women with HIV. HIV treatment was great back then, but it's not as good as what we have now, and we've come on leaps and bounds. But those young men and women lost their lives far too early. And it made me want to live life and explore life more, seek out its possibility and potential that life holds when it's there to be found. When Mick and I talked last week about the education system, and one of the things that people are surprised about me the most is that I didn't do very well at school. I cannot tell you how mortified and embarrassed I was by that experience. I thought my life was over. I was so upset, but it taught me a lot about resilience actually, and the importance of not giving up. And my parents told me to keep going, and so I did. When I look back at my school years, what is particularly interesting is I ended up choosing subjects that I didn't really have a passion for. I wanted to do a second science, but I was told I couldn't because I'd find it too difficult. I also wanted to do a social science, but it didn't fit with how the option system worked at the time. What is even more interesting is that when I did my reset year, I chose chemistry, the second science that I wanted to do in the first place, in sociology, and I had to complete both of them within a year. At the end of that year, I passed them both with high grade passes. And it taught me that when we do things that we love and are passionate about, we do really well. It's integral to our own faith, hope, and joy in life. And it's the same in our work. When we do work that we love and enjoy, it's an amazing feeling. Confidence is high. Job satisfaction is high. But when the system pressures take over, or you're constantly pulled away from what you love to do, We don't get to finish the projects we are working on or want to make the improvements that we want to make. The joy in work and what we do is eroded. Apathy and discontent can set in and we can start to deteriorate. It takes someone to notice our discomfort and squeeze of the unhappiness to become too much that we take action ourselves. In a press release in 2022, CIPD, the professional body for HR and people development in the UK, stated that 6.5 million workers plan to quit in search of better jobs. And although better pay and benefits were the main motivator, people were also looking for increased job satisfaction and better work-life balance. In response to what was found, the CIPD called for employers to not treat pay increases as the silver bullet for attracting and retaining staff, but instead to look at overall job quality by being more creative with job design and people management practices. Last week, Mick and I talked about creativity as a force in work, and I couldn't agree more. And I take in my own experiences. When I start to struggle in the workplace, it's because the ability to create isn't there or is suppressed. And it's okay for a short while, but as I settle into a role, that's when I start to struggle. If I cannot use my creative skills to create change or improvement, I start to deteriorate. I start to feel really low and depressed, and apathy starts to sit in. I feel frustrated, and I have found myself leaving a few times. The problem is, it's only in recent years that I've come to understand that this is a major issue for me in workplace. And if I don't know, how do I expect someone else to know? It would take someone really experienced who's had a similar experience to me to understand or to see what was happening. I feel so anyway. This then takes us to why it's so important that we need to develop that connection with ourselves, why it's so important to go inwards, to listen to ourselves, our thoughts, our feelings, and hear ourselves, what we need without fear, without judgment. We have to slow down to be able to hear ourselves clearly and have the courage and faith to listen to that inner voice that tells us that we need more. The inner voice is gentle and kind and consistent. It's there to help you. Your inner voice, your true inner voice, will not berate you. It's not there to tell you you're stupid or you're not capable or you can't do something that you love. It's the subtle guide nudging you to what is right for you. But we are moving through life at such a pace that we are so removed and disconnected from that voice. Even when we feel we're relaxing or surrendering to a moment, we are probably only halfway there. This is something I've realized about myself recently. It's been a really busy year, and there's been moments of really high activity and recovering from my own burnout. And even though I consider myself quite self-aware, last week in a training session for my yoga somatic training, I realized I was sat forward and rigid and ready for action as the webinar started, and I just didn't need to be. And so I relaxed myself into the chair. But even when I felt I was relaxing, I was still holding my arms in a tense state. The truth is that when we are moving at such a pace that isn't sustainable for our well-being, taking the time to be our truest and authentic self is often lost. Yet it's the biggest gift that we can give to ourselves and to others, because as we give ourselves permission to be our truest, authentic selves, it gives permission for someone else to do the same. We need a better world. We need change. And that change starts with the connection that we have with ourselves. It all starts with us. Whatever that means for you, doing a job you love, taking action on that new idea that you have, traveling if you want to, or acting on that inner voice that is telling you there is more for you in this world, and to have the courage and faith to go after it. And of course, there are always going to be obstacles. Sometimes there are going to be delays. Sometimes things take so much longer than we anticipated. There will be fears and anxiety, but you will work through them. And I'm here to help if you need it. You can always look at my coaching programs, or I could create something bespoke to you, or I can always direct you to someone I know that can help you in the direction that you want to go in. If I can't help, the help is there whenever you need it, whenever the time is right for you. Our thoughts often play a part in getting in the way. They have a funny way of paralyzing us into procrastination and inaction. Last week, Mick and I talked about us not being our thoughts, and it's quite a difficult concept to get your head around. I think so anyway. So this is how it works for me. I can be sat there thinking perhaps I'd really like to create a whimsical piece of art. And my thoughts would be, but you can't draw. Do you remember the way how the teacher laughed at you when you tried to draw that still life when you were 11? It was silly. But I don't have to be those thoughts. I can alchemize them into something else. It is true, I'm not great at drawing, but I can learn. With practice, I can get better, just like I did when I started to make jewelry. No one is going to laugh at me because in this moment, that drawing is just for me and my own enjoyment. When our thoughts are running away with ourselves, they often show us what we don't want. So then we can flip them over and focus on what we do want. It's here that we really need to turn inwards and listen to that inner voice, the guide that is kind and caring to your heart and soul. No one else can hear that voice, it's just you. And I know it can feel like you're on your own at times. I felt that too. It's still okay to ask your friends and family's opinion, but that inner voice is yours, and it's there to be leaned into when you need to. It's there for you to develop a deep trust and faith in yourself. Thank you for joining me on this week's episode of The Connection Compass. If you would like to find out more about my work, please visit AndreaLEvans.com. If you have any questions about the podcast, please visit Andrea L. Evans' Facebook page. And if you think this episode will help someone, please leave a review at podchaser.com. And remember to keep talking, keep connecting for a more interconnected world. Take care.